our first event in our new home, which is going to be our home for the rest of the year. And for those of you who have not run meetups, meetup organisers spend the bulk of their time trying to find venues. That is our glamorous job. It seems like it would be an easy thing to do, but actually it is incredibly hard. And because we want to keep this meetup accessible for all, it's free, we are committed to not charging for it. What that means is we need venue partners or else we can't run it. Our main objective at the end of the day is we want to go from idea to audience fast. So it's an audience-centric process where the audience comes first.
There's something to be said in being self-contained and being able to produce something on your own and not having to rely. I think it's so easy to come up with the excuse, and I did it for so long, of I can't do this project until I have X, whether it be financial, whether it be equipment, whether it be free time, and I learned a lot from that experience.
I guess in lean philosophy, the idea is that is considered waste.
Yeah.
There is actually no value until you have it with an audience.
Yeah.
So the idea is to try and get things through the pipeline as quickly as possible to get to the audience, because that's where the value is. So, you know, to be really sacrilegious, if you're sitting on a documentary film concept and you've been nutting away at this concept for a year, we would consider that as a waste.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's no value in the concept itself, there's no value even in shooting if you don't get it to an audience at some point. The audience is the value. And so I think what's really interesting here is that you kind of had two big series. So you had this Envato series, which we're talking about now, which then led to the Made By series, which we'll get to in a second. But I guess, did you still follow kind of traditional methods in this kind of way, even though it was just the two of you?
Yeah,
so you shot and edited everything. But did you follow any traditional kind of way?
Absolutely. Like, so I was fairly new. So Lean, I won't go into what Lean is, but I think when I was at Envato, I was exposed to Lean in a lot of ways. So it's just the way that people work. It's about iteration and testing things quickly and all of these things. And I had, when we were on Envato Stories, I started seeing where we could be using Lean to help us. Lean in regards to equipment that we carry.
So it was literally just a backpack.
Yeah, exactly. We had we didn't worry about so like our backpacks carried all of our gear. We had our tripod that we stuck in our suitcase.
We are living in such an incredible time for documentary filmmakers, and you know, it's really exciting about, you know, possibilities.
And I think the thing of I'm okay with doing crappy work as long as I keep getting better and better and better and better. And I think that that's sort of like something that a lot of people worry about. It's like, I'm going to wait until, like, they're going to theorise the whole thing, they're going to have it all in their head, they're going to try and make it perfect. If you try and do that, you will end up failing because it won't meet. If you spend,
never meet your expectations.
So here's the main reason that I like filming and editing in 3 days is because I can walk away and be like, if anyone has any criticism, I can say in my head, well, it only took me 3 days.
My methodology is exactly the same. Like, I mean, we've invested, so my brother and I have been working on Lean Filmaking as a side project for 2.5 years now. And I mean, I love every second of it. Are we making any money from it? No, not yet. We're looking at ways to do that. But we're like, have I learned a crap ton? Yes. Have I met fantastic people? Yes. Have I actually been inspired to make my own creative projects? Yes. And as a creative person, that's why I'm not driven by money. I'm driven by creating fantastic stuff. Wow. I don't think we've answered your question at all. I think we've just started philosophising about.
So we get told about story a lot and the power of story. And I think that another way you can look at it and sort of fits within Lean is looking at subject versus story. So sometimes as documentary makers, you don't necessarily want to, like, some of the interest is in discovering the story. And I think that sometimes I can go to the production with too much idea of what I want the story to be. And nailing what the subject is going to be first. So for instance, like, it could be a person. So if you find a really interesting person, say the designer, like for instance, Chris Coyer, who was turned into the weight loss story, we didn't go in there going, tell us about fat camp. You know, we went in there just being like, talk about you know, like some of the struggles that you've had or things like that, and that came out of it. So definitely one of the learnings is looking at a subject and making sure that that's sort of aligned, and then let things happen in between that. In the sense of like, we were able to do the stories because I knew like where everything was on that camera. So it's like, if you can get that bit sorted, that's one less stress. If you're worrying about like, I think the things that can happen is worrying about like how we're going to do the sound and all that sort of thing. Having those thoughts beforehand will enable you that when you're there, that you can engage with the people. And what I always do is start with B-roll of the person. So people are generally more comfortable just being filmed doing what they naturally do versus speaking about what they're doing. So for the first section, when we're on a shoot, I'll say, okay, say it's a designer, it's like, we're going to get you on the computer, and we just ease them in that way. So it's like, what's the lowest, because the thing is, you know that you're going to need to get that B-roll anyway. You're not going to be able to leave unless you have these shots. So start with the easiest stuff first, without exhausting them, so don't spend too much time on that sort of thing, and don't provide too much direction. Just sort of feel it out. Group gives us a great opportunity for you to work out any tech things, and then go into the basic questions first. So think about things that you're going to need coverage on. So like obvious things like their name, what they do, or things like that, and then get into the more specifics. And that's why vlogging is so great too, because if you want to do a vlog, you can do day 1, and that's going to be your first iteration, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and by the end of it, you're going to have 100 iterations, and you're going to get better and better and better.